Supreme Court okays old vehicle ban. Understanding BS3, BS4 and BS6 vehicles. How you would replace the old vehicles.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Deep Dive into Bharat stage emission norms for vehicles in India. I'm Megha Sharma, and if you've ever wondered what those BS4 or BS6 labels mean on cars, bikes or trucks, we are going to break it down for you today. We'll cover what Bharat stage standards are, the key differences between BS3, BS4 and BS6 vehicles, a closer look at the emission levels, and finally, how to identify the BS6 vehicles today. Let's dive in. The Delhi government has tightened vehicular pollution controls amid severe air quality, bringing renewed focus on Bharat stage emission norms. Non-BS6 private vehicles registered outside Delhi have been barred from entering the city. Bharat stage norms are India's vehicle emission standards, which are set by the government to curb air pollution, aligning with European standards, with the latest stricter BS6 implemented nationwide in 2020, replacing BS4 and significantly cutting pollutants like particulate matter and nitrogen oxides. Vehicles are classified by the BS level like BS2, 3, 4, 6, indicating the technology and fuel standards they meet, with newer numbers signifying stricter limits and cleaner engines. Delhi has historically implemented stricter emission norms earlier than the rest of the country due to its persistent air pollution problem. BS2 norms were introduced in the capital in 2001, BS3 in 2005 and BS4 in 2010, all several years before the nationwide rollout as per the Central Pollution Control Board. BS6 norms were implemented in Delhi NCR ahead of the rest of India and became mandatory across the country April 2020. As vehicles from other states enter Delhi daily, the city's roads are still carrying a mix of vehicles operating under different emission standards. India skipped the BSV entirely to fast-track cleaner air. The goal? Reduce vehicle pollution, which contributes massively to India's air quality issues in cities like Delhi. So what's the difference between these stages? Each step tightens the limits of pollutants and improves fuel quality. For petrol passenger cars, the BS3 in 2010 allowed carbon oxide up to 2.3 grams per kilometer, hydrocarbon 0.20 grams per kilometer and nitrogen oxides up to 0.15 grams per kilometer. BS4 in 2017 cut that to carbon oxide up to 1.0 grams per kilometer, hydrocarbon 0.1 grams per kilometer and nitrogen oxide up to 0.08 grams per kilometer. Carbon oxide similar but drops nitrogen oxide to 0.06 grams per kilometer and introduces a strict particulate matter limit of 0.0045 grams per kilometer, which wasn't regulated before. For diesel cars, the bigger polluters in BS3, nitrogen oxide up to 0.50 grams per kilometer, particulate matter up to 0.05 grams per kilometer. In BS4, nitrogen oxide was down to 0.25 grams per kilometer, particulate matter was up to 0.025 grams per kilometer. In BS6, we see massive cuts. Nitrogen oxide is up to 0.08 grams per kilometer and particulate matter is just 0.0045 grams per kilometer. Fuel sulfur also dropped dramatically from 350 ppm in BS3 to 50 ppm in BS4 to only 10 ppm in BS6. ppm relates to parts per million of contaminants in the air. Low sulfur means less harmful sulfate dioxide and better performance from pollution control tech like catalytic converters. BS6 also adds real-world driving tests and onboard diagnostics for better enforcement. Overall, moving from BS3 to BS4 was a solid improvement, but BS4 to BS6 is a game changer, equivalent to jumping several Euro stages at once. Now let's understand the difference between BS3 and BS6, as that's the biggest recent shift. Earlier, the Supreme Court order reinstated ban against BS3 and below diesel vehicles older than 10 years and petrol vehicles older than 15 years from plying on Delhi roads. The court has clearly maintained that older vehicles running on emission standards below BS4, including BS3 and earlier models, may face regulatory action. Cars found not to be compliant are to be stopped from entering Delhi and fined 20,000 rupees. Even cars that are BS6 compliant can be fined rupees 10,000 if found without a valid PUC. The crackdown on the transport sector is aimed at reducing emissions from older, more polluting cars bought before April 2020 will be BS4 compliant but will not be eligible for BS6. Cars bought between 2005 and 2010 will be BS3 compliant, whereas those bought between 2001 and 2005 will be BS2 compliant. Now, how do you spot a BS6 vehicle? For vehicle owners, Bharat stage compliance can be checked on the registration certificate, which mentions the emission norms under which the vehicle was certified. Usually, vehicles registered on or after 1st of April 2020 are BS6 compliant, as the standard became mandatory nationwide from that date. Manufacturers also usually mention BS6 compliance in the owner's manual and in some cases on stickers near the engine or fuel tank. Authorized dealerships and service centers can also confirm compliance using the vehicle's registration number. Further, vehicle owners can check the Vahan portal on the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways website by entering the license plate number and accessing registration information. Meanwhile, across 13 main borders from Kapashera to Badarpur till 4 p.m., 2,768 vehicles were checked for compliance with BS6 norms, of which 460 were turned back. Most vehicles were turned back at Najafgarh, Sarita Vihar, Kalandi Kunj and Badarpur. Fewer vehicles were sent back at Narela and Kapashera. At Noida Kalandi Kunj border, there were around 30 cars that were turned back between 9:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Moreover, vehicles without a valid pollution under control certificate will not be allowed to buy petrol and diesel at fuel pumps in Delhi. Around 44 lakh end-of-life vehicles are estimated to be plying in the NCR region surrounding Delhi as per the Delhi Transport Department. The vast majority of these are BS2 and BS3 and a small share of BS4 registered vehicles between 2010 and 2014. The volume is, however, even higher in the capital with roughly 62 lakh such total vehicles plying. After BS6 norms came into the picture, it put India on par with the US and European equivalent emission norms. The market is full of BS6 compliant cars from all major brands including Maruti Suzuki, Hyundai, Tata, Mahindra and many more, covering budget to luxury segments with popular models including Maruti Swift, Fronx, Brezza, Tata Nexon, Sierra, Hyundai, Venue, Creta and Mahindra Thar, Bolero, offering cleaner emissions with petrol, diesel, CNG and electric options, with some future models like Mahindra B series also on the horizon, all meeting India's strict emission norms. In summary, Bharat stage norms are pushing India towards cleaner mobility. Upgrading to BS6 isn't just regulation, it's vital for our health and environment. Meanwhile, we have opened our call in line for the people in Delhi and National Capital region to share what you think about this.
Supreme Court okays old vehicle ban. Understanding BS3, BS4 and BS6 vehicles. How you would replace the old vehicles.